Nick Reiner, son of Hollywood icon Rob Reiner, has been taken into custody after both of his parents were found dead in their home last night. CNN's Josh Campbell is in Los Angeles. Josh, I know you've been talking to sources. What are you learning about this arrest?
Yeah, Dana, a significant development in this incident. As you mentioned there, we're told that the son of Rob and Michelle Reiner is now in police custody. That according to jail records. Now, he's being held on $4 million bail on a type of felony charge. However, the records do not indicate what that specific charge is, whether that's specifically in connection with this case. We're waiting to actually, confirm that information. I did hear from a law enforcement source last night after we began reporting on these tragic deaths that police were conducting an interview with a family member at that time. Authorities calling this an apparent homicide, which was important because obviously in these types of death cases, authorities will try to assess whether a death was a suicide, whether it was an accident. LAPD saying last night they believed it was an apparent homicide. Now we're still waiting for additional details about what comes next in this case, whether the son is actually cooperating and talking with police. But again, a significant development. Their son now is in jail, Dana.
It could not get any more tragic. Josh, thank you so much for that reporting. I want to now bring in retired FBI Special Supervisory Agent Steve Moore. Steve, thanks for being here. What's your read on this situation?
Well, I think based on what I've heard, that family members are talking. Nobody seems to be in the family seems to be wildly shocked about this. So I think we're going to find out more and more. There were indicators that there were problems in the relationship, problems with him, and I think LAPD is taking it very carefully. They're not treating it like a slam dunk. I see that they're getting a warrant. Or they got a warrant to search the home of the victims. And so that, you don't always do that. So they are taking it extremely carefully.
As they should. I mean, this is beyond, sensitive, not to mention horrific. I was just told, as you were talking, that the LAPD chief just confirmed that Nick Reiner, the son of Rob and Michelle Reiner, was booked on murder charges.
Yeah, that's an important development because we know the chief was just speaking on a separate press conference underway in a domestic terrorism case. But that's the connection that we were awaiting there, whether authorities would actually say this was a murder of that type of charge. Obviously, a significant development. It tells you the direction that this investigation is going.
All right. Thanks to you both. Really appreciate you giving us the latest on this just horrific investigation. Speaking of horrific, I want to read how the President of the United States responded publicly to this news. Here's what he posted. Quote, "A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace." My panel is here now. The days of us expecting this president to be a consoler-in-chief, a uniter-in-chief, even anything close to that, those are long gone. That ship has long sailed. So the bar is low. Like really low. And this is a statement that came in so far below that bar, it's hard to even put words to it.
It's beyond the pale. Any 5-year-old can see that statement and know that's not an appropriate thing to say. You don't have something nice to say, you don't say it as like a rule that children are taught. But what it also shows me, and this again, this isn't new information about Donald Trump, he can't resist. He is so addicted to media culture and the Hollywood thing and being a part of that story and playing in that space, that's irresistible to him. So his avenue of pursuit to swim in the stream of something that's already going to get a lot of attention. By the way, he's the president of the United States. He could get attention for anything he wants. And yet he knows like this is a stream he could swim in that will cause attention on him in a way that he thinks scores him some sort of political point with his fans. But it's just gross. I mean, it's just horrible to see that the leader of the free world wants to debase his position enough to just attack these two people who are just, potentially murdered by their son.
And look, Rob Reiner was very, very open about his politics, a huge advocate for causes, for progressive causes. No question about that. And yet, when Charlie Kirk was murdered, he went on Piers Morgan, and I want you to hear what Rob Reiner said about the murder of Charlie Kirk.
I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service, at the memorial they had, was exactly right. And totally, I believe, I'm Jewish, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus, and I believe in doing to others, and I believe in forgiveness. And what she said to me was beautiful and absolutely, when she forgave his assassin. And I think that is admirable.
You know how we are reminded of that comment that Rob Reiner made? Because Charlie Kirk's executive producer posted it after he learned that Rob Reiner and his wife were dead. And I just want to add that the president posted what I read on his own social media platforms, Truth Social. As far as I could tell, and our team looked into it, most of the comments were not supportive of the president. The comments were, many of the comments, I should say, not most, many of the comments were saying, Mr. President, enough. That tells you something.
Yeah, but also should tell you something that the rapid response team and the White House reposted that seconds after President Trump did. I mean, it's not something that they're shying away from. And when you talk to Republicans, and of course, now we've heard at least two Republicans come out and slam his remarks, but those were two Republicans who were already slamming most of what he was doing these days.
Tom Massey and Marjorie
Taylor Greene. So what usually happens in a situation like this is that everyone will ignore it, and Republicans will ignore it, and they'll say, oh, it's just Trump being Trump. And you'll go and Manu will chase them down on the Hill and say, how can you explain away this horrible thing that he said about a man who was just murdered hours ago? And they'll say, Trump has a lot of opinions about things, and then it'll all get swept under the rug.
And I just want to say, Manu, just come in on this, but, there's so many things that we can comment on or report on or talk about that sometimes we do say, okay, that doesn't rise to the level. Because this is so repugnant in its content, and because Rob Reiner is such a high-profile figure, and because he's president of the United States, and he wasn't answering a question. This is unsolicited. He just decided to post this. We thought it was extremely newsworthy.
Yeah, and there's no defense for it. So it'll be interesting to see if any Republicans can defend it. I've been still searching through social media. I have not seen anyone say really much anything other than the criticism we heard from some prominent Trump critics, now Marjorie Taylor Greene being one of them. But I can expect a lot of them will say, oh, I haven't seen it, and I haven't read the post, and hope the news cycle moves on like so many other things. And there's so many things about that post. This is the inability to separate politics from a horrific potential murder here, involving someone who really meant so much to so many people, regardless of his political views. Trump is just cannot rise above the political moment. It just brings, it's really, in an era where we're not supposed to be shocked, it's shocking.
Which he himself has admitted, by the way, the Erica Kirk moment that Rob Reiner refers to in that video, Donald Trump himself said, I couldn't do that.
Right.
Like, you know, I mean, he immediately acknowledged at that time that her grace that she was providing for all of us, quite frankly, in that moment, that he was like, he had already acknowledged he's incapable.
And I do want to note just one thing quickly. You know, some of President Trump's, and I was surprised by this, some of President Trump's most rabid supporters, who are the trolls of social media, were out there from last night into this morning saying we didn't agree with anything that Reiner stood for politically, but this is a horrible thing. And then you still had this response from the president.